everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Yin Arenas, and I'm here with Mark Stafford.
Hello.
We're both PMs on the Microsoft Graph team, and today we're going to talk about Microsoft Graph. Our agenda for today is a premiere on what Microsoft Graph is, how you can get started as a developer, what are the typical app patterns that we see, and tips and tricks that we will like to give you in your developer journey. At the end, we're going to talk about what's new and what's the roadmap for the product. OK, so let's get started. At Microsoft, we create people-centric experiences that empower everyone to be creative and to work together securely. Now, we do this in a very generic way. We create the same type of products by producing these market experiences like the ones you have in Office 365, in Windows, or in the Enterprise Mobility and Security Suite. These products are used by millions of users across many different industry verticals, and for example, legal or retail or marketing, and across many different sizes, like whether it's a small, medium business or a Fortune 500 organization or a school, they're using the same experiences. They're using the same Word, Excel, PowerPoint, they're using the same Office suite, the same Windows, right? And there exist more needs, more specific to the industry vertical, or just your own company. And we rely on our partners to help us develop those needs for our customers. Those tailored experiences that maximize the productivity of our shared customers. So I'm assuming that you're here today because you're a developer, an architect, or a technical decision maker for one of these partner companies, whether it is developing software for your own organization or for the customers that you serve. So in this talk, we're going to talk about that, about how you can create those tailored experiences built on top of the Microsoft 365 platform that help make our customers just more happy and meet those needs of our shared users. For ISVs, there exists an enormous opportunity with Microsoft, partnering with Microsoft to have those tailored experiences reach millions of users that use our products every single day. Whether it is across consumer or commercial cloud, you can build on the same platform that we use to build and power our own Microsoft 365 experiences. As you saw today on Satya's keynote and on Rajesh's technical keynote, the Microsoft Graph is powering experiences in Microsoft 365, helping us build more people-centric experiences and more intelligent experiences that help users be more productive. Now, but we're not talking about those experiences today. We're going to talk about the developer opportunity. So with that, let's start talking about the Microsoft 365 platform. The underpinning of the platform relies on the Microsoft identity. This is where we have the identity of the users, whether it is a user in an organization, a consumer user, or a user on a school. And for developers, it offers a suite of standardized-based auth libraries that provide seamless single sign-on for applications, and an app model that enables developers to access the data that we have in our products. Now, on top of the identity platform, then we have the Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph, if you haven't heard enough of it, is this fabric of all of the data that we have across of our products. So whether it is Office 365, Windows, or the Enterprise Mobility and Security Suite, and we even have Dynamics with Business Central data today, we have the core schema of the entities, of the resources that drive the user's productivity. And then Microsoft Graph offers 3 interfaces for developers. The first one is a REST-based API. With this REST-based API, basically, is an HTTP-based API that you can make requests to get access to that data, modify that data, and build experiences. Those experiences can be standalone experiences, web applications, device applications, background processes, workflows, things that you have where you expose your own experience. And the second type of experiences that you can build is an extension of the experiences that we have on Microsoft 365 today. So for example, whether it is inserting content into a Word or a document, or accessing data and modifying data in an Excel file, or interacting in the conversations that are going on in Teams or Outlook, or creating SharePoint web parts that interact in portals, and of course, participating in the Windows timeline. All of these are experiences that you can extend with the Microsoft Graph REST APIs. Now, the second interface that Microsoft Graph offers is what we call Data Connect. Data Connect is a pipeline that we've built that, with no code, only with configuration, you can take mass amount of data from Microsoft 365 services and move that data in through Azure Data Lake. Those are things that you could do before with the HTTP-based REST APIs, but that takes a lot of work, right? And not only takes a lot of work, but it puts the honor on you as a developer to handle all of the life cycle of that data and the security and the making sure that you do that pipeline in the right way. So we've configured Microsoft Graph Data Connect to move that data at bulk into Azure Data Factory so that you can then use the Azure toolchain, the AI toolchain, to build a new set of class of applications, which we call analytics apps, or being the applications that allow you to derive insights from the information that is on the Microsoft Graph, joined with your own information. Now, the third interface that we have at Microsoft Graph is one that allows you to ingest data into Microsoft Graph. Here, we have a variety of ways into which you can get your data into the graph. You can annotate existing entities. So for example, we have schema extensions that allow you to annotate groups or users that are represented into the API. And now we are also taking it a step forward, and we're allowing you to define your own resources in the graph. This morning in Rajesh's keynote, you saw a demo where getting data into the graph allows you to participate in the experiences that we have with Microsoft 365, starting with Microsoft Search. So putting your content into the graph will enable you to participate more deeply into the experiences that you have. Now, again, going into the set of services and components that the graph offers for developers, we have not only these interfaces, but then we have a set of services that allow you to kind of pick and choose depending on the type of application that you're building. So I call them a la carte services. Basically, depending on the type of application, you're going to have a different need for how you're going to authenticate users, whether you're building a user interactive application or you're building a non-interactive application. If you are building a UX that requires some web components, you're going to be able to use our UI on web components and have the same look and feel that Microsoft 365 has in its products. We have a set of libraries in a wide variety of languages that basically tailor to meet you where you are. Like if you're a C# developer or Node.js developer, or you like to code your apps in PHP, we have libraries that will help you interact with the Microsoft Graph on that language. And then we have a set of capabilities that, again, depending on the type of scenarios that we're building, will become more handy for those applications, like webhooks or deltas, being able to do delta queries, notifications, and extending the data in the graph. So if you're building, for example, a web application, you'll select auth code flow to get an interactive sign-in from your users. You will most likely use our web components that we've announced today in preview as part of the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. You will most likely be developing in JavaScript or Node, and then use the API for interacting with the data. On the other hand, for example, if you're building an automation application or a background process, in this case, you're building a non-interactive app, and a client credential flow from an authentication perspective makes more sense. And you'll probably be building that in C# using some other capabilities. Now, another way to look at Microsoft Graph is on the set of data that it exposes. So we talked about Microsoft Graph being the unified endpoint for data across Office 365, Windows 10, Enterprise Mobility and Security, and now Dynamics as well. There is a set of products that are exposed through the Microsoft Graph, and then there is a set of resources that are available as part of those products. So whether it is a mail, a calendar that are coming out from Outlook, or a list or a document coming out from SharePoint or OneDrive, or an alert coming from the security stack, you can access all of these data through the unified endpoint graph.microsoft.com. Now, this is the type of data. Now let's take a look at 5 simple steps to get started with the Microsoft Graph. I'm going to come here to my demo. The first thing that you need to remember, actually, like if you take one thing from today, is graph.microsoft.com, just write that in your browser. It's going to redirect you to our documentation portal. So here in our documentation portal, I'm going to point you to several pieces that are going to help you on that development journey. The first thing that I'm going to show you is our Graph Explorer. So Graph Explorer is a tool that allows everyone. There is no excuse. Everyone can use Graph Explorer to interact with data in the Microsoft Graph, whether you have an account or not. So here I'm going to basically make an HTTP request to the Microsoft Graph API. And you're going to see that the API returns simple JSON. Let me just move this a little bit, zoom in, so that we can better see. It returns simple JSON of the information for this particular user. This is a request to the me endpoint that brings back the profile information. Now, the Graph Explorer allows you to get started with simple requests here. So we have some of the most popular requests that we see, like getting the profile or getting the photo for that user. And then here we have pointers to the documentation. So you can click and then be redirected exactly to that particular API and get all of the information of how to interact with it. Now going back to the Graph Explorer, in addition to having those getting started queries, you're going to see a set of sample queries for each of the individual services that are services or resources that are part of the graph. Here I'm going to turn on the calendar and say, for example, the OneDrive APIs. And when I come back here, I'm going to see the set of examples.
Sorry. I'm sick, by the way, just in case you were wondering.
Keeping distance. I think yeah, there you go. You're going to see a set of examples, and those examples, if you're not logged in, you're going to be able to get all of the get examples. If you want to make any modification to the data, then at that point in time, you'll want to log in with your account. Because Microsoft Graph supports both consumer and commercial accounts, then it's going to ask you to select what account you want to use to log in. And now that I'm signed in, as soon as I'm signed in, I'll be able to make requests to the API that modify the data that is in it. Let me just refresh this page to make sure that we can go through that signing process. Let's give it one more chance. OK. Then the Graph Explorer will allow you to log in with both accounts. And then after that, you will be able to make requests to the API that allow you to modify the data. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is the documentation. So we talked about getting documentation from the API, but I'm going to just go here to our docs. And on the documentation, you'll be able to see all of a set of information that will allow you to, basically will walk you through the journey of developing with the API. First, you're going to see a set of explore. I'm just going to zoom this in. It's way too little. First, you're going to see a set of Explorer documents that are going to tell you about what are the set of data that is in the Microsoft Graph, what type of users can use the Microsoft Graph. So sometimes we have customers that are across different sovereigns, and Microsoft 365 is exposed in sovereigns like China. And we have a Microsoft Graph endpoint that allows you to interact with that data. So all of this information you'll be able to find here in the documentation. Then we have a section around Learn, where you will be able to see all of the different set of scenarios that you can have with the different resources in the API. So this is not API reference, this is scenario reference, where you'll be able to see what type of scenarios you can build with each of the resources available in the API. Then after that, we're going to take you to the development journey. So in the development journey, basically we're going to walk you through like what are the set of steps that you need to get your app up and running. We're going to talk about how to get auth tokens, and I'll point you to one document here, which is the permissions document. Microsoft Graph data is data from our customers. This is not data that Microsoft owns. This is data that our customers own. And obviously, every time that you, as an application developer or as an app, want to access to that data, the customers, the owners of that data, need to provide consent in order for that data to be accessed. And this document explains the set of permission scopes that are exposed as part of the Microsoft Graph. Then we have documentation that allows you to use the API, that shows you how to use the API, talks about pagination, query parameters, and so forth that we're going to see in examples later on during the talk. Now I'm going to point you to the API reference. Here in the API reference, we're going to see that there's a set of documentations that allows you to look at what are the set of operations that are supported for each of the individual set of resources that are exposed in the API. It's going to talk about examples, properties, set of permissions. So for example, if I wanted to get users OneDrive, it's going to talk about what is the HTTP request, and it's going to show me sample code for the SDKs that we support. So right now we have sample code for C# or for JavaScript, but we're going to add additional sample code for other platforms. So that's a world tour view of what we have in terms of our documentation. But now let me show you a quick start. So whether you're a developer, you're doing web development, or you're doing native development, or you're doing backend development, we have a quick start for you. So let's say, for example, you're doing ASP.NET, and then we have a set of experiences that help you on that journey. So we have a quick start in which we're going to be able to get an app running in less than 3 minutes. We have a tutorial that includes a video that will walk you through the experience of building an application in less than 30 minutes. And then, of course, we have that SDK that you can download right from NuGet. So when we go to this quick start experience, in just a few clicks, I'm going to be able to get an app running. So it's just going to get an app ID and secret. It's going to log me in. I don't know if this one did log me in. I get my secret, and I can come back to the app registration experience, paste it here. And then I'm going to get code that is already working with that application that I registered. I can open it up on Visual Studio and run it. I already had that here on my Visual Studio. I can run it and get that application working in less than 3 minutes, like I said. So that is a way that we can interact with the Microsoft Graph, get started with the Microsoft Graph, get code in your language of choice that it's going to bootstrap that development experience. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the SDKs. And I'm just going to go back here to our documentation. And for our SDK documentation, we have a new set of documentation that is going to walk you through how to use the SDKs that are available for the Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph SDKs are mostly separated into two libraries. We have a service library that contains the request builders and the models that are generated to interact with the API. And then we have a core library that takes basically the helping you do the redirects, the retry query, helping you do the payload compression, and basically just making more of the common tasks. Now, I mentioned that we have SDKs available in multiple languages. We have instructions on how to install each of the SDKs, how to create a client, and how to, depending on the application that you're building, and you're going to see this in our talk today, that we're emphasizing a lot on the type of application that you're building. Depending on the application that you're building, we have an authentication provider that will help you interact with the Microsoft authentication libraries, which were announced GA today. OK, the last thing I'll mention from getting started experience with Microsoft Graph is around app registrations. So every single app that interacts with our platform needs to be registered in the Microsoft Identity Platform. And once you register an application here in the Azure portal, I'm just going to use one of these as an example here, this app demo. There is a way to configure the permissions that that application will need in order to get access to the API. So in this particular application, I have requested a set of permissions that allow me to get access to the data in calendars, files, mail, and users. And notice that for mail, I have two different types of permissions because I'm doing two different types of operations with that particular resource. Now with that, I'm going to go back to the deck. And basically what we saw is 5 simple steps to get started with the API. 1, trying the Graph Explorer. 2, going to browsing the API, the documentation that we have there and the API reference. 3, showing the quick start and how to get started in less than 3 minutes. And then using the SDK and registering your application. With that, then you can get started. And we're going to talk about now about the app patterns that you can build using the Microsoft Graph.
OK, and I will try not to cough anymore. We'll see. All right, thank you. So now we have the wrong slide showing. We'll keep moving forward. Great. So we've covered the high level of what Microsoft Graph actually is. Now let's drill in another click stop and try to understand this from the perspective of building real applications. Now I want to stress right from the very beginning that we're going to use 4 application patterns today to talk about how you would build on top of Microsoft Graph. This is obviously not the only set of app patterns, but it is a useful set of application patterns because right from the very beginning, the style of building the application is going to be fundamentally different. The technologies that you use for building a web app are different than the technologies that you use for building a bot app. Similarly, the way that you authenticate to a web application is going to be different than the style of authentication used for a background process application. So we're going to walk through a process of each one of these different application patterns and try to apply it within the context of Microsoft Graph. So specifically, the categories that we're looking at this conference are web apps, device and native, bots and agents, background processes and automation, and finally, analytics apps, which, as you know, we are introducing with Microsoft Graph Data Connect. We're going to do this through the frame of a fictional company, Contoso Airlines. The reason that we do this is to ground it. We work with many, many, many different customers across the world. But generally speaking, we can't just take their applications and use them as examples of how to build on top of Microsoft Graph. So introducing this company helps us to talk about building Microsoft Graph applications in a realistic way, but also a safe way where we're not violating anyone's IP. So the best way to think about Contoso Airlines is that they're just an average regional airline. Comparable to many other regional airlines based in the US, they're similar in size to whatever mental image that you're thinking of with respect to small airlines. They have a handful of developers. Most of their developers are skilled in web and mobile type development. So really, your average shop. Now, when we put these two things together, the application patterns and Contoso Airlines, we have a useful frame for understanding what sorts of applications we would actually build on top of Microsoft Graph. And so as we step through each one of these different applications, we're going to face a different challenge that Contoso Airlines, in our imagination, is actually facing. So let's start with web apps and device and native apps. Now, the demo that we're going to look at in a few minutes is primarily a web app. But of course, anything that you build for the web can typically be used on mobile too. Maybe it has an actual native application attached to it, but the style of building the application is going to be extremely similar. In Contoso Airlines' case, they really need to be able to schedule all their different flight crew. So on the previous slide, we saw that they had about 4,500 flight crew, hundreds of flights per day. They need to be able to put those two things together. As we look towards bots and agents, then we're going to try to find some lost luggage. Lost luggage happens. Probably some of you on your flight here wound up missing a bag. We're going to have a bot that is going to help interface between, hopefully, external customers at some point in time, but certainly at least the flight crew themselves to be able to find this lost luggage. Thirdly, we're going to look at background processes. As we look at the number of requests overall, background processes really are one of the most prominent types of graph applications because there's lots of work that we don't need a human to do. So when we think about provisioning a new user into Contoso Airlines, we need to be able to do that consistently. So if they're flight crew, they need to be added to certain groups. If they're pilots, they need to be added to other groups. If they're back office staff, they need to be added to yet other groups. They probably need to be sent a welcome email and possibly introduced to their team. Maybe other things need to happen. So background processes and automation are where all these sorts of things happen. Now, I will point out here, kind of tangentially, and we'll hammer this point home later, that when you're starting to deal with these sorts of applications, then administrator consent is going to be required as opposed to user consent, but we'll see that in more detail in just a second. And then finally, analytics apps help us to analyze at scale what's going on with our business. This is really completing that full arc of how do I run my business on a day-to-day basis. And so our example is going to look at flight crew and how well they're working together. What is the customer sentiment attached to particular combinations of flight crew? So as we look at each one of these application patterns, this is just the mental template for the next set of slides that you're going to look at, right? So for each one of these application patterns, we're going to look at what is the example. We're going to step into a demo of the actual application pattern. We're going to look at the type of authentication that is typically required for this pattern, and just recognize that it's really hard to put explicit rules around authentication. So sometimes people build web applications with app-only authentication. Generally speaking, that is something we would always advise against. But we'll point out what is the recommended authentication pattern for each one of these applications. We'll talk about some of the challenges that you might run into. We'll look at some of the decisions that you're going to have to make. And finally, we'll give you one tip that you can use to start building this application pattern. And I really want to emphasize that I'm missing a slide, or my slides are out of order or something, but each one of these is going to go into a different breakout session, right? So we're actually giving you a teaser for 4 breakouts that are coming up over the course of the next 2 days. At the bottom of each one of these slides, you'll see the breakout session listed, and then that will come back later, and ultimately we'll pull all those breakout sessions together into a single slide. So let's talk first about web apps and device and native apps. The example here, we kind of already laid out the frame for it. It's really flight schedule management. You can do the flight schedule management from 2 perspectives, either from the flight agent perspective, or the flight crew perspective, or from a manager perspective, so somebody who's putting together applications. Today, we're going to look at the demo for the flight manager perspective, and if you want to see the other perspective, then you have to come to the web apps breakout session, which is tomorrow morning, I believe. This style of application almost always uses interactive login. You saw Yina logging into some different applications in her web browser. Often, you will build these applications with some specific user in mind. And that's going to drive the scoping of the content. So when you think about logging into Outlook.com, or when you think about working with other applications, it has your emails, it has your Word documents, it has your content specifically. One of the challenges here is thinking about offline synchronization. So when you're dealing with an application that might be used on a mobile device, how do you buffer that content so that when the mobile device goes offline, you can use it effectively? And how do you store up changes and then synchronize those to the server when you are done with, or when you're back online? And the tip here is going to be to use Microsoft Graph Toolkit, which is a framework that we're introducing here. It is open source, and it allows you to easily build any sort of web application that uses web components. So I'm going to switch over to my demo machine here. And we will walk through this first demo. So forgive me, my machine has been asleep for a little bit. We may run into a couple small hiccups. But right now, we're actually logged into this Flight Team Manager interface. I happen to be logged in as Megan Bowen. Megan is the flight administrator, and we can see that there's a series of different flights here. Red means that that flight needs more staffing in particular. Yellow means that it's staffed moderately. Green means that it doesn't really need any more staff. At the same time, I'm going to Alt-tab over to Outlook. In Outlook, I'm logged in as Adele. I can't zoom that too much. But I'm logged in as somebody else in this particular application. So we're logged in as Adele. We're going to look at scheduling Adele for a couple flights. In particular, there happens to be a flight on the 16th. So if we go over to this interface and we look at the flight on the 16th, flight 425 from Seattle to JFK, I can jump in here and we can start to see some of the working with Microsoft Graph happening. So number one, we're actually getting a whole bunch of identity information. Not only do we know that Megan is the one that is logged in, and therefore she has rights to be able to do this sort of flight administration, but also we can see the identity information and profile photos for other flight crew members. And we know that they're flight crew members because of their membership in Azure Active Directory. So their names, their photos, their group memberships, they're all coming from Azure Active Directory, and this is kind of your first touch point to Microsoft Graph. But separately, we have all their calendar information because we can call the calendar APIs inside of Microsoft Graph. So if we scroll down here, we can see that Adele is currently free for this particular flight. Now, I happen to know a secret, which is that Adele is not actually free. She's about to put in some vacation time. So if we jump over here and we go add to Adele's calendar, vacation, and we're going to mark this as oof. We're away from the office, save. Now if we reload this particular application, in an ideal world, we would have noticed that and automatically updated the interface, but you guys can come back at Ignite to see the rest of the demo, perhaps. But now we can, oh no. I scheduled a very short oof. She's only oof for an hour, but you get the picture. If I had marked that as all day, like I was supposed to do, then we would have gotten oof all the way across the row. So we're actively modifying this particular application because it interacts with her calendar directly. This works really, really well because it means that Adele always has one place to look for what is going on in her life with respect to her flights and her vacation. If she has a dentist appointment come up, she just puts it on her calendar. If we look at it from the other perspective, so I'm going to go delete this event now, and we will refresh the page. We'll get back to the normal state for this application. I'm going to go ahead and add her to this flight. Oh, didn't update quite yet, but I'm going to add her to the flight anyway. We will go ahead and check this, and a background process is going to spin up. It's going to add Adele to this calendar, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit because we'll see that pop up. Now, two things are going to happen here. Number one, that flight is going to be added automatically to her calendar. And number two, she's going to be added to a specific team that is pertinent to that flight. So there's all sorts of interesting things happening. Now we see the flight pop up. We see she's automatically added to this particular group. So while we have a custom application, we are able to integrate directly with the software that she's using on a day-to-day basis. So let's jump back into the slides. Here's our demo slide. Let's talk about the next category of applications. So we talked about productivity apps and web apps. The second type of application that we're going to talk about are bots and agents. So when we're dealing with bots and agents, we typically have some sort of an interactive dialogue going on. And in this particular case, we're going to have that lost luggage finder that we were describing previously. The authentication in a bot is going to be different. Now, the authentication that's being used in this particular scenario is something special called OAuth prompt, which basically means that if you're already logged in, then you're not going to have to do an additional set of login. But in the extreme example, where you have something that is entirely headless, like Cortana on the special speaker or something along those lines, you may have to do a different style of authentication that's typically called device code. So just be aware of that. It's a little bit more of a complicated flow for some users. that same challenge applies to other aspects of building this bot. So how do you deal with limited or no UI experiences? And this is one of the things that you really need to think about as you're building graph applications that interface with a bot is, how do I show just one thing, or the most important thing, or let people access exactly what it is that they need to access? One of the decision points here, there's many decision points, but one of the decision points is whether you want to create your own skills or reuse existing skills and kind of combine things from out there in the real world. And then a last tip here is to use the adaptive cards, which Rajesh talked about this morning. You'll see the adaptive cards in action in this demo. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump back over to the demo machine. I'm going to jump to my next demo here. OK, so we are logged into Microsoft Teams as Megan Bowen again. She's quite famous at this particular conference. We can do basic stuff with this bot, like saying Contoso Airlines, me, which obviously is going to return, you are Megan Bowen. But this just helps us to make sure that our bot is awake and actually paying attention. So really what we want to do here is we want to talk about Rajesh's bag. So we're going to say Rajesh lost his bag. And maybe people are going to come back and forth and chat just a little bit about this lost bag. But ultimately, we're going to wind up pulling in this bot to help us escalate this to a proper incident. So we're going to say at Contoso Airlines, new channel. And behind the scenes, this bot is actually going to spin up a new dedicated channel to handle this particular support request. Now, this is good because a channel can get confusing if there's a whole bunch of mixed conversations in there. And so we've actually created this special Rajesh Jha channel, which we'll go ahead and launch right now. We can see that the bot has already helpfully stuck some bag information in here. This particular picture cracks me up because clearly either this is not a large suitcase or that handle is absolutely enormous. I just think that Rajesh travels real light because that's basically handbag size. Regardless, we can now go effectively look for this bag, and eventually, we're going to have conversation, and we will hopefully eventually find this bag, at which point in time we can go ahead and click Found It. This is the adaptive card experience, right? We can attach actions to our adaptive card that allow us to interact with this thing. We can tell Rajesh something or other, and then we'll go ahead and close this incident. Now, as we close this incident, it's going to go ahead and tear down this particular channel. You can't see it happening very well because of the real estate here, but we actually spun up an entirely new channel there. We had a conversation in that channel with adaptive cards, and then we tore down the channel when we didn't need it any longer. And so managing the full life cycle of Microsoft Teams plus the interaction with the bot is certainly possible with Microsoft Graph. All right, jumping back to the deck. The third category of applications that we're talking about at this conference are background process and automation apps. Now, web apps we use all the time, right? They resonate with humans because you spend all your time interacting with your device or your computer or what have you. But these particular apps really do the heavy lifting for us. We see more requests from these sorts of applications than any other sort of application that is built on top of Microsoft Graph. And let me give you a couple of examples why. We talked about the scenario in this particular case is new employee provisioning. New employee provisioning doesn't happen very frequently. But there are other sorts of applications that are background process and automation that do look at practically everything. So when you think about data loss prevention, when you think about scanning for viruses, when you think about looking at emails to back them up or something along those lines, then there are lots of applications that need to touch significant amounts of data. So background process apps, there's a lot of them. They touch a lot of data. The sort of authentication that is necessary for these background process applications is called app-only. It uses app-only permissions. Now, it uses this because there is no user interactively logged in, right? It's running on a machine hidden somewhere in the cloud or maybe under Jeremy's desk or something along those lines. But because it's using app-only authentication, an administrator must consent to this application. That's great because that's really what you want in these sorts of applications anyway, because of the extent of the data that they can touch. And we will come back at the end and give you some more tips and tricks about authentication and when to use this sort of authentication. One specific challenge that you have here is dealing with throttling. A lot of these processes wake up at some scheduled time. They'll go do a bunch of calls against Microsoft Graph, and then they'll go back to sleep. And that can be a recipe for disaster, especially if you run into the throttling limits. So there are some coping mechanisms that you can use, especially in terms of using what are called deltas. These are just the changes that come back from Microsoft Graph, as well as webhooks. And if we have time, then when we get to tips and tricks, we'll look at deltas in particular. Your tip here is to use the Microsoft Graph SDK. That's really a tip for all the different app patterns, but in particular with background processing and automation applications, using the SDK will get you started very quickly. So jumping back over to our demo machine. This one has a bit of a story attached to it. Number one, it's a video, because a lot of these demos are works in progress, and this demo happens to be complicated to set up. And number two, you get to see me launch the video because using the multiple desktops and the Windows Video Player was not playing very nice together. So please forgive me as I launch this. And I'm going to go ahead and talk through this demo. We recorded it this morning, as you can probably see. So what's going to happen is we're really going to start out in Microsoft Graph Explorer. You saw this before. What we're doing here is we're actually creating a user. So you can see that Dan has a post set up for users. He's going to go ahead and create this user. He's highlighting Pilot. So we've created this new user, Melissa Johnson, and she happens to be a pilot. That's going to control some of the things that happen. As we talked about this earlier, she'll get added to particular groups and things like that. Now he's jumping over to Postman because this application doesn't happen to be all that intelligent yet. It is polling for changes, right? It will go out every so often, which is really commonly how people build applications, and it will actually request what has happened. And now he can see that we've found that new user, an email has been dispatched to them. They're also going to be added to a particular team, which we're going to jump over and see, and possibly other things have happened as well. So here she is added to the team, and her user account has been effectively provisioned. So this sort of pattern really happens quite frequently with Microsoft Graph applications, and it's just really useful to be able to build these sorts of applications. So the last category of application that we're going to talk about at this conference is analytic apps. We said that our example here was flight crew analysis. As with background process applications, you really need to use app-only authentication with these. Now, not all of these are specifically going to use app-only authentication because we have Microsoft Graph Data Connect, which is just a super powerful tool for being able to get your data into Azure. Two of the really big challenges here are dealing with the scale and the privacy of your data. So how do you do this thing at scale? Yina was talking about this just a little bit earlier. There's lots and lots of emails in most tenants. How do you pull all that information out effectively and get it into Azure? Similarly, how do you do that in a safe way? And one of the things that Microsoft Graph Data Connect allows you to do is set up rules like saying, hey, my C-level folks are excluded from this particular set of migrations, or I'm just going to pull the subject and the date sent from the set of emails. It allows you very granular configuration information. One of the key decision points here is where are you going to store that data? One of the reasons that we recommend Azure for storing that is because Graph Data Connect allows you to take it safely from Microsoft Graph, where it is clearly protected with privacy and compliance boundaries, put that in another safe place, and if you're an ISV, it never lands in your tenant. It's always in the customer's tenant. It's always protected. So the tip here is use Microsoft Graph Data Connect. We're going to see a demo of the net effect of this. So the last demo for applications. We're sitting here looking at Power BI. This Power BI is just a workbook that has been built over the top of the data that is sitting now inside of Azure. So Microsoft Graph Data Connect has already been configured. It's already pulled the data from Microsoft Graph into Azure, and now we've run some analytics over the top of it. in particular, this allows me the ability to go in and look at a particular flight attendant. I'm going to look at Winnie Davidson. And perhaps Winnie wants to know when her next flight with Morris is, in which case I can click on this, and probably nobody in the room can read that, but we can see that she's got flights with Morris from Fairbanks to Nome and Yakutat to Anchorage. Apparently this is mostly an Alaskan airline. Regardless, this allows you to get really interesting data and insights into your application. You can imagine if we were storing customer sentiment attached to the flights, then we could understand the best flight attendants to pair up in order to maximize customer sentiment. So with that, we'll jump back to the deck. So just to summarize, we talked about 4 application patterns. Again, these are not the only 4 application patterns. If you refer back to the earlier slides, we even saw more application patterns. But these are the ones that we're talking about here. We have this handy-dandy little summary slide for you where we pull all this information together. I'm not going to talk through this right now, both because it's a better photo op as well as the fact that we have more demos to do and not that much more time. So the breakout sessions are attached to each one of these different sessions. I would recommend going to see at least some of them. Let's talk about one final set of demos. These are the 5 tips and tricks to become a graph coder. So Yina gave you the 5 steps to set up your graph application in the first place. Let's talk about the 5 tips and tricks to become a Microsoft Graph coder. The first 3 are all going to be in Postman. The last 2 will be in slides. So let's jump back to the demo machine one last time. OK, and here we have Postman, and we will be looking at Outlook as well in just a second. I need to go ahead and re-authenticate. Right now, what you see is the Microsoft Graph Postman collection, which you can easily pull down from GitHub, github.com/Microsoft Graph, which you can also get to from our graph.microsoft.com portal. I've imported it into Postman already, and I can see at the top here there's this Graph 101 top tips and tricks. And we're just going to step through some of these different queries. Oops, except for I should probably refresh my token first, like I said I was going to do. So this is just kind of, oops. I broke the token. Oh, no. Why did I save this the wrong way? I'm going to get the token the bad way, perhaps. OK, good. We're going to call that good. Let's just verify that we're working now. Whew, crisis averted. All right, so we're going to step through 7 basic operations, and then we're going to step through seven styles of query. I'm going to blow this up just a little bit more so that we can see this. As I blow it up, I lose the sidebar. So right now we're on list to collection. Really, we've done a very simple request here. We've just said get/me/messages. You can see that we've got a list of messages. There happens to be 10 in here, but it's all buried in a value array. If you add to that an ID, in this particular case, we grabbed one of those IDs from the previous request. You can see it cached here in the variable. If you grab an individual ID and you tack it onto that collection, not surprisingly, you get back a single mail item eventually. So we can see now we've got a single mail item, 7 days left with your Azure free trial subscription. Now I want to point out here that this is all real data. So if I jump over to the inbox, I guess this is somewhere else. Or maybe I need to refresh the inbox. Oh no, I'm in the other user account now. We're going to log out and log in.
They're all called Megan Bowen across all of the tenants. So easy.
Yeah, it's Megan Bowen across all the tenants, and I have so many different demos going that I have multiple people in play. So we are going to log back in here. region B, M365X607.
Oh, you know that?
826, I think. We'll find out. Cross your fingers. And now it's going to ask us again. Give me one more second here. 26.microsoft.com. Yes, I would like to stay signed in. Okay, there's that 7 days left with your Azure. No, thank you. All right. But this is not limited to read, right? So we talked about how we could create calendar events. Now let's look at email messages. So I'm going to jump over here to my drafts. And I'm actually going to dock this on the side. I don't need Postman console. I would like real Postman, please. Thank you. Oh, I need to come out of full screen mode. OK, so now we're looking at the drafts behind there. If we click on this create a new item, then as Zena pointed out earlier, we can go post. We've got a body here that says tips and tricks test mail. We're going to run this query, in which case the new email shows up here. We can go modify that query by patching it. So updated subject. So now we're doing patch as opposed to post. And one last demo with modifying these things. I'm going to maximize Postman here for just a moment. You don't need to ask for the email body back every single time. So there's actually a special header that you can use. This is a standardized header. This prefer header return equals minimum will say, hey, look, I don't really need that response back. Don't bother sending it to me. And so now in this particular case, I got 204 no content. But my change actually took. So updated subject again was the previous one, just to prove that that works. We'll run the original update subject. We get the email body. Updated subject. We run this one again. No body. Updated subject again. And then finally, to complete this, we can actually go delete the email by just sending delete to whack messages, whack mail ID. You can continue to work through these other operations and so on and so forth. I'm going to look at 2 of the query parameters, and then we're going to move on. So the query parameters are really consistent across the entire surface of Microsoft Graph. One of the things that you can do that will minimize your response payload is to use this select query string parameter. Now, if we look at just messages, I'm going to cut this off for a moment. If we look at just messages, that payload is very, very large, right? So we've got is read and web link and is delivery receipt requested. Probably most of that information you don't need for your actual application. So if we add that select equals subject and sender, now we get back just the subject and sender plus the ID of the email and the E tag, which is important for caching and things like that. So there's lots of really great query string parameters that you can use to minimize your payload. And then there's one third category for other tips. I do want to point out this one. Please always be prepared for any array inside of Microsoft Graph to be paginated. Now, when things are paginated, we tend to put something called an OData next link on there. We put it actually in the payload itself. There's lots of really interesting and long arguments about how to do pagination. The reason that we put it in the payload itself is because it allows us to paginate children. So in this particular case, my query is, give me all of my drives, and for all those drives, give me the children inside those drives. So I happen to only have one drive, but even so, the children in that one drive, there's a lot of them, right? And so if I scroll down here to find children, then I see that I can have children at OData next link, which gives me the next page of results. And I can continue, like if I had access to multiple drives, I was part of multiple SharePoint sites or something along those lines, now I'm going to get a next page link for each one of those different drives that I'm attached to. So download the Microsoft Graph Postman collection and use that to get started with sending queries to Microsoft Graph. Jumping back to PowerPoint, the last two tips, so we talked about sending your basic query operations, we talked about sending your different query parameters, and we talked about pagination and other tips. The fourth tip is to make sure that you track changes. Use webhooks and Delta Query to do this. We're not going to go through this in detail, but there are a set of queries in there for how to use Delta. And in particular, really what you do is you go fetch a Delta token, and then you come back at some point in time, and you use that Delta token to fetch the changes. So whether things have been created, whether they've been modified, whether they've been deleted, you can use that Delta token to just get the changes, which is a really effective way to cut down your payload. I mean, imagine thinking about your inbox of messages. How are you going to get just the new messages that have changed when you've got 10,000, 11,000 items in your inbox? And then last but not least, make sure that you use least privilege permissions. We talked about this a little bit, but there's two. Yeah. Sorry? Okay, yes. Oh, got it. Yep. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Good. Moving on. And the slides are downloadable afterwards. I apologize for moving too fast, but do make sure that you download the slides and the Postman collection. They're really, really great resources. Plus, the slide deck that you download will have a whole bunch of stuff that was hidden from this particular deck. So there's other good reference material in there. So my last thing, and I'm over time, is to make sure that you use the right style of permissions. So when you're talking about delegated permissions, this is your interactive login, right? We talked about this. So when you interactively log in, you've got a combination of permissions going on. The app has been assigned a set of permissions, right? Your app has granted consent for being able to access email or being able to access files in your drive. But as a person, we also have, as a person, we also have a set of rights that we may or may not have access to. So just because I have access to emails in this application doesn't mean I can access Yina's email. If you do the application permissions, the application, there is no authenticated user, right? And so the application has permissions to whatever it was granted consent to. This is why the permissions are required to be consented to by an administrator. So with that, let's hit our final announcements.
So we published a blog this morning with all of the different set of announcements that we have for Build this year. There are a ton of new data sets across all of the different services that expose their APIs through Microsoft Graph. New things that we have heard from our developer community, like, for example, MIME support for Exchange, and some other things that are coming across the different services. I'm not going to go through each of them, but I want to call out that if there's feature requests that you have, always you can find them and submit a feature request through user voice, where all of our team is looking at those feature requests and using them to inform our roadmap. One of the things that we announced this morning was Microsoft Graph Data Connect GA. We showed an example, and please go ahead to visit the Data Connect session that is going to be shown in the following slides for all of the different breakouts. We also have a set of announcements around the tooling that we have for developers. So all of the different set of SDKs that we mentioned that we have across different languages, improvements on our documentation. We're very diligent on listening to our developer feedback to improve the experiences that allow you to be more effective when interacting with the API. So again, send us feedback, let us know how it's working for you, what else do you like to see in terms of all of these developer experiences. As we mentioned this morning, we're announcing the preview of the web components as part of Microsoft Graph Toolkit. They're available in GitHub today. And I had a demo for it, but we have minus 1 minute left. So I'll quickly show this demo. The idea was to build it up, but I would just have all the text in here, and let me walk you through it. So Microsoft Graph Toolkit enables a set of web components no matter what framework you're using. So you're using React, or you're using Vue, you're using vanilla JavaScript, or the newest framework that is going to come up next year or maybe tomorrow, it will be, you can use these web components in your application. The with a single line of code, you will be able to sign in the user. And so this first login component that I have right here is going to allow you to sign in. I'm going to refresh my application and sign in. This, we're going to use Megan Bowen yet again. And then the next set of controls that you see here showing up are the agenda control. So now we have the agenda control group by day, starting by May 16, and showing just 3 days out of the agenda. And then we have also person control. Let me just refresh this page right here, because I think that the signing was, yeah. So the person control, here Alex is showing the person query is looking for someone that is named Alex, is showing me the name and the email. You can see that control over here. And then the tasks control, which is that one-line control over here, that is looking at tasks from the user. This task control can interact with tasks from to-do, like here are my tasks in to-do, or it can interact with tasks in Planner. So if I just remove these from the data store, the default is Planner, so I'll just refresh, and you'll see that this time around, I'll get the tasks in Planner, this demo toolkit tab task. So that is the Microsoft Graph Toolkit, one-liners, so that you can add this type of controls into your applications. The look and feel is using Office Fabric, so it feels like it's part of the Microsoft 365 experiences. And with that, let's go back to the deck. So just to recap, Microsoft Graph offers you a wide variety of data and services that you can use as a developer to build experiences or enhance the experiences that we have in Microsoft 365. As I mentioned in the beginning, at Microsoft, we build these very generic products, and we rely on our partners so that to build these tailored and customized experiences for our customers across industry verticals or across different segments. And that way we win together, right? Like you help us make the product so much better because we're both partnering to meet users' needs. Microsoft Graph has several sessions that are being shown this week at Build. So if you would like to join us on all of these different sessions where we're going to go deeper into each of the individual app patterns. And then if you have not yet, or if you don't know about this, I'll encourage you to join the Office 365 Developer Program. This developer program will give you an Office 365 tenant. It's an E3 subscription with 25 users, and also the capability to add data so that you can use that as your playground or your testing environment. And with that, help us build those tailored experiences and join us today using the Microsoft Graph to help our customers and to make our customers happy.